Hey, fifth graders, welcome to your next week of learning. What we're going to do this week is work on comparing and ordering decimals and then rounding decimals. And your test will be next week on, I think I have it planned for Wednesday, but I will let you know for sure pretty soon. So look at page 30 with me in your hardback book, and let's look at comparing and ordering decimals. Comparing means using greater than or less than or equal to. And ordering means greatest to least or least to greatest. So you've seen this before, but we're just doing it with decimals now. So look at page 30. Gymnastics is a sport that is part of the Olympic Games. In a recent Olympics, a gymnast scored 15 and 6/10 on the floor exercise and a 15 and 66 thousandths on the balance beam. In which event did the gymnast have the greater score? To find the event with the greater score, compare the decimals 15 and 6/10 and 15 and 66 thousandths. Compare in decimals by comparing the digits in each place value position. Start with the left and check each place until the digits are different. So I'm going to rewrite this actually like they did in your little chart. So they kind of wrote them up and down stacked. So on the top, they have 15 and 6/10. On the bottom, 15 and 66 thousandths. So we both have one right here in our tens column. They both have a 5 in the ones column. Now when we get here, we have a 6 in our tenths column at the top and a 0 at the bottom. So if I wanted to fill in the rest, remember if there's nothing back here, those can be zeros. So if you look at those, now I have a 600 here and only a 66 here. So we know that this one is going to be our bigger fraction of decimal, You also know it's bigger because you know that 6/10 is bigger than splitting something into 66 hundredths. So we would write this as 15 and 6/10 is greater than 15 and 66 thousandths. Remember your symbols. That's greater than. It's going to eat the bigger number if you remember that from like third grade. The symbols you need to know, again, are greater than, less than, and equal to. Equal to is going to be the easiest ones because they're the exact same thing. So let me look at what we're going to do today and see which ones I want to practice with you guys. Let's look at something like this. Let me erase this. All you're doing is looking at place value. That's why we spent so long on place value and expanded form. We did all of this so this would help you order and compare. So if you have 2 and 50 hundredths and 2 and 51 thousandths, looking at that one, I have 50 hundredths here, 51 thousandths. If I wanted to add another 0 on the end to make it easier, that makes it easier if they all have the same places. So 500 versus 51, 500 is going to be a lot bigger, so it's greater than. If I give you something like this, hold on just a second. You don't even have to really look at that. You know that that 3 in the whole number place is bigger than the 2. So automatically it's going to be greater than. Let's look at one like this. 12 and 84 thousandths and 12 and 2/10. If I wanted to make it easier, what I do is I look here. 84 thousandths, so it's 3 places after the decimal. Over here, I only have 1 after the decimal. So I can add those 2, remember equivalent decimals. Then I'm looking at 84 versus 200. So that's how I know that 12 and 84 thousandths is less than 12 and 2/10. 12 and 84 thousandths is smaller than 12 and 2/10. So the best way to do it is to make each side have the same amount of places after the 0. So let me give you another one to try like that. If you make them both have the same number of places after the 0, it's going to be a whole lot easier. Let's do this one. Okay, so my biggest one over here has 3 places after the decimal. So let's make this also have 3 places after the decimal. And if you look at that, you can tell they're equal to. So sometimes they're going to trick you by making them equivalent and equal to, but they're going to leave those zeros off of the first one. So in that case, you need to remember what we learned with equivalent fractions. Let's look at one like this. 4 15 thousandths and 4 15 hundredths. Over here, I have 3 zeros, or not 3 zeros, 3 places. On this side, I'm going to add a 0 to get 3 places. The 4 is the same in each one, so now I'm looking at 15 versus 150. So 15 is going to be less than 150, so 4 15 thousandths is less than 4 150 thousandths, or 4 15 hundredths. So that's how you do those. They're pretty simple. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to order your decimals. When you order your decimals, it's going to ask you in your book to do greatest to least and then least to greatest with each little set they give you. So let's look at one they give us. When you're ordering them, you pretty much just do the same thing you do the other times. Let's do these 3. 40 6 hundredths, 46 1 hundredth, and 40 60 hundredths. So you see they're going to give you ones that are very, very similar. You also see that instead of a comma, they give you a semicolon. That's because they want you to not put all of those numbers together. You're going to put a semicolon because a comma looks too much like a big number. If it helps you, you could also do this and stack them, which I prefer to do. It makes it a little bit easier to see them. So I'm going to erase these since I rewrote them. And let's look at them doing that. Rewrite my 0 and 6. Okay, so now I have a 40, a 46, and a 40 in my whole number spot. If we're going least to greatest, I need to look at these two right here. 40 6 hundredths, or 40 6 tenths. They both have 2 places after the decimal, so I can look at 6 versus 60. I know that this 6 is going to be the smallest, so I would say 40 6 hundredths, cross that out. The next smallest has to be 40 60 hundredths, cross it out. The greatest has to be 46 1 hundredth. So then, to do greatest to least, we would just reverse it. You would put 46 1 hundredth on top. Then I would go 40 60 hundredths and 40 6 hundredths. So this is greatest to least, and this is least to greatest. So when you're doing it, you really need to make sure that you're labeling it so that you understand which one is which when you're going back to look at the answers. So let's do one more of these, and I'm going to let you try some of these on your own. The only thing I'm going to tell you is to make sure that you pay attention to the directions, because they're going to ask you to do both of those. That didn't work. There's no easy way to erase it. Unfortunately, you have to go just like this and do it all at once. Okay, so the next one let's do is 3 7 hundred thousandths, 3 7 hundredths, and 3 37 thousandths. So you see the one in the middle only has 2 places. I'm going to add a 0 here to make them all have 3 places so we can do it a lot easier. So let's do in red least to greatest. They all have 3 in the whole number spot. So let's move to the tenths. I have a 7 and 2 zeros. 7 is going to be the biggest, so if we're doing least to greatest, let's look at these two right here. 70 versus 37. We know 37 is smaller, so that's going to be your least amount. So 3.037 is your smallest. 3.070 is going to be your next smallest. And 3 700,000 is your biggest. For greatest to least, you would just switch it. So we would say greatest to least, 3 700,000, 3 70 hundredths, 3 70 thousandths, and 3 37 thousandths. Okay, so same thing. So let's look at classwork today. For classwork, you're going to do page 30, numbers 1, 2, 4, 6, and 10 through 11. Your homework is workbook, page 21. Okay, practice these. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, your Tuesday video. So Tuesday's video, let's go back into what we were doing yesterday, more of this ordering, comparing. So you're going to be on page 31 and page 30, so I'll just say page 30 to 31. Today you're going to do numbers 13 through 17 and 24 through 26. So 13 through 17 are greater than, less than, or equal to. And 24 through 26, you're ordering least to greatest, then greatest to least. So go through and do just what you did yesterday. Your homework is going to be workbook, page 22. Okay, so do exactly what you did yesterday. Pay attention to the directions. Remember, you can add zeros on the end and make everything have the exact same place value. That way, all you're looking at is the last three numbers. Makes it so much easier. All right, Wednesday video, we're going to go on to rounding decimals today. So we're going to be on page 32 and 33. So look at page 32 with me. In 1958, a skateboard was made by attaching roller skates to a board. Over the years, the designs improved, making the skateboard smoother to ride and faster. One of the fastest downhill skateboard speeds recorded is 80 and 74 hundredths miles per hour. What is the speed to the nearest whole number and the nearest tenth? Rounding decimals is similar to rounding whole numbers. Locate 80 and 74 hundredths on a number line. So if you look at the number line, 80 and 74 hundredths is in between 80 and 81. It is not a whole number, it's in between two whole numbers. You can round to any place in a number by looking at the digit in the place to the right. If it's less than 5, round down. So less than 5, round down. If it's greater than 5, it rounds up. If it's 5 or greater, sorry, I probably should erase that. And let's put 5 or greater. 5 or more, we go up. Less than 5, we stay the same. So if we want to round 80 and 74 hundredths to the nearest whole number, let's write down 80 and 74 hundredths. To the nearest whole number, we look to the digit at the to the right of it. So it says look at the digit in the tenths place. So right here, this is our whole number, and that's an 80, not an 86, which is what it looks like. We look at that. That's going to be our whole number. That's what we're rounding to. Then we look at this number right here to tell us what this number should be. If it's 5 or more, we round up. This number is the one you're looking at, if whether it's 5 or more. So 7 is more than 5, so that 0 changes to a 1. I keep everything over here, and everything after changes to a 0, or we really don't need that at all. We can just put that 81 is our whole number. If we're going to round to the nearest tenth, let's write it again. This is my tenths place. This is the number I'm going to look at in order to see what that tenth is going to be. If it's less than 5, the 7 stays the same. If this is 5 or more, that 7 goes up to an 8. This right here is less than 5, so 7 stays the same. So the nearest tenth would be 80 and 7/10. So that's how you do each one of them. So what you're going to do in your classwork is you're going to round it to the place that they've underlined. So let's look at one like that. And then tomorrow we'll look at rounding to each specific place. So let's look at some practice ones. Remember the rounding rules we learned last year. And again, I think we reviewed some of them this year. Make sure you are remembering how to do those. Let's look at one like 4.567, 4 and 567 thousandths. If I told you to round to the underlined place, that 5, look to the number at the right. 6 is more than 5, so 5 goes up to a 6. I keep that 4, and then everything else can be dropped off. So to the nearest tenth is 4.6. If I gave you the same number, but this time I underlined a 6, now we're rounding to the nearest hundredth. So I look at the number right to the right of it. 7 is more than 5, so 6 goes up to a 7. I'm going to keep everything on this side, so I get 4 and 57 hundredths. So remember to keep everything that comes before that underlined digit. Everything after it, you can just remove, drop away. Okay, let's do one like this. 4.67, 4 and 67 hundredths. Round to the underlined place. 7 is going to make that 6 go up to a 7. 4 stays the same. 4.7 or 4 and 7/10. You might get one like this. And they might underline that 6 right there. 7 makes a 6 go to a 7. Keep it. Keep that 30. So 30 and 7/10 is your answer. Okay, so that's what you're going to do today on your classwork. So let me write your classwork down real quick. Your classwork is going to be page 32, numbers 1 through 10. Your homework is going to be workbook page 23. Tomorrow we'll practice more of this, and Friday we're going to get into some fun stuff. Okay, so this is your Thursday video. We're almost done for the week. Today we're going to look at more of this rounding decimals. So look at page 33 with me. That's what you're going to be doing today. Today you're going to do 12 through 15, and then you're going to do the other parts with the money underneath it. So we're going to practice a couple of each one. Let's look at number 16. It says 49 and 28 thousandths. They want you to round to the nearest whole number. Sorry, let me put that one first. We're going to put a W for a whole number. The nearest tenth and the nearest thousandth. So let's do each one in a different color. Let's do whole number first. I'm going to go ahead and underline my whole number because it helps me to remember what it is. Look to the number at the right. 0 makes a 9 stay the same. That 4 also stays the same. So my answer for my nearest whole number is 49. 49 and 28 thousandths is really small. It's closest to 49, closer to 49 than 50. Let's look at our nearest tenth. This is my 10th spot. Let's look to the number at the right. 2 makes a 0 stay the same. So for my nearest tenth, I would say 49 again. You could put 49.0 actually if you want to. There is no tenth there. It looks like, yeah, your book does want you to put the 0.0. And then finally, let's look at thousandths. Sorry, they don't want thousandths, they want hundredths. My bad. Hundredths. This is my hundredth spot. Number to the right, 8. 8 is going to make that 2 change to a 3. So I'm going to keep everything before it, 49.03. That 8 can go away. You're not going to round to the thousandths here because in order to round to the thousandths, I would need to go up to a 10,000ths place, which we're not doing. So that's 1. So I'm going to erase this and let's do another one like this. and then I'll show you one with money. If you just remember your rules, it should be pretty simple. Okay, so let's do 408,932 and 109 thousandths. Okay, this is a big one. Everything over here really doesn't even matter, because if we're rounding to the nearest whole number, that's the one we're looking at. So let's look at our tenths place. Our tenths place is going to tell us what to do with that whole number. A 1 makes a 2 stay the same because this 1 is less than 5. So my nearest whole number would be 408,932. Okay, let's look at our tenths. This is my tenths place. That 0 tells me that that 1 needs to stay the same. So my tenth would be 408,932 and 1/10. Keep that 1, everything else goes away. And then for my hundredths, the 9 is going to tell me what to do because it's the number next door. 9 is more than 5, so that's going to go to a 1. So I'm going to have 408,932 and 11 hundredths. I think, sorry, right here, the whole time I had that there. That should definitely be hundredths, I'm sorry. So now you have 408,932 and 11 hundredths. Okay, so that's how you do those. And with the money, it's the same thing. So let's do a money one. The money is the exact same thing. You just have to put your dollar signs in your decimals and understand what they're asking you in the directions. So you're going to do 20 through 25. Let's go ahead and just do 20. This is going to be a freebie answer for you. $13.87. They want you to round it to the nearest 10 cents and to the nearest dollar. So for the nearest 10 cents, this is your 10 cents right here. So that 7 is going to tell me that that 8 needs to go to a 9. So for the nearest 10 cents, I would write 13.9. But here's the thing you need to remember about money. Money always has 2 decimal places. So I need to put that 0 there to make it actual money. I can't just leave it at $13.9. It needs to be $13.90. For the nearest dollar, I'm going to look here. This should be easy for you to think of. Think of $13.87. Is that closer to $13 or $14? So that 8 will tell me that that 3 needs to go up to a 4. So the closest thing is $14. And if you wanted to put the 2 zeros after it, you can, but you don't have to. Okay, so pretty easy. Your classwork today is going to be page 33, numbers 12 through 15, and 20 through 25. And your homework is workbook, page 24. Okay, so that's it. Practice, 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 and the next week we're going to review again for your test. All right, Friday video. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to use every Friday to talk about the election. So every 4 years on the first Thursday of the month of November, we have the presidential election. On the presidential election day, people come out and they vote for their president for the next 4 years. You have usually 2 parties, Republican and Democrat, but you also have something called third parties. And those are also people you can vote for on the ballot. The ballot is what you vote on. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this opportunity to use math to learn about the election. So it should be something we can do on Fun Fridays. What you're going to do today is kind of start that. So what you're going to have today is first your voter registration. Voter registration is something you do when you turn 18. When you turn 18, that is when it's legal to vote for you. You cannot vote until you're 18. What you do is fill out a form, and when you fill out that form, they send you a card called a voter registration card. You take that card with you to the polling place, and that's where you get to vote. So I'm going to make you guys a voter registration card by using the information that you fill out here on the form. On the form I gave you, it says 3rd grade. Ignore that. I didn't have any white out to wipe that out before I took a picture of it. So ignore the 3rd grade part. It also says you are in room and then it has a blank, you can just put room, actually don't put 20, I think I'm in room 15. Put room 15, I believe that's the room I'm in. Put that there, and that'll be your kind of residential area, your home source, kind of. Then when I get everybody's in, I'll make your voter registration card, and it'll be something you can use to vote. If you're in person by November 3rd, you'll get to actually go to an actual ballot place and put your vote in. We're going to be voting this year for Harry Potter versus Captain America. We're not going to vote for the actual presidential candidates because it can get a little hairy sometimes with people's opinions. So we're going to keep it book characters and movie character. We're going to do Harry Potter versus Captain America because I think that might be a tough choice for some people. We're going to talk about their character traits, talk about who's the best candidate. You're going to make your own little voter buttons, which will be fun, little buttons you can wear. You're going to make campaign posters. We're going to talk about the election process. And then we're also going to talk about other things that just have to do with the presidential election. It's something that's important. I think you do need to know about it. A lot of the in-class kids had a lot of questions and things that they didn't understand, and we got to actually talk about it and discuss it, so it was fun. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to look at the election process. And I'm going to try to share my screen real quick and show you what it looks like. Let's do new share. And then that is it. So this one you're looking at right here, that's not it. That's the Lorax. Okay, apparently it doesn't want to work here. Okay, it's not working. So I'm going to screen share this instead. The next thing you're looking at on your Shobi is the election process thing. It's red, white, and blue. It is very blurry, but it was something that I didn't want to pay for, but I thought it was super important for you to look at. It is legible, so do read it and look at the process of how a president becomes a president from the very beginning to the end. The other thing you're going to do is your 3 branches of government. So it gives you 3 worksheets, and it talks about each one, your judicial, legislative, and executive branch. Your executive branch is the president. Legislative is the House of Representatives and the Senate. And the judicial is Supreme Court all the way down to the other courts. Those are the 3 branches that make the government work. So what you're going to do is read what they have to say about them and fill in the blanks with whatever questions they have. At the end, it's a writing prompt on why your vote counts, why it's important to vote. So I want you to think about why voting is important and why we do it every 4 years instead of just having one leader all the time. We don't want to have just one person in office. So do those things for me today. Next week, we'll move on to some other parts of the election. Start thinking about Harry Potter versus Captain America and who you would pick. So have a good weekend. Let me know if you guys have any questions.